What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video we're going to talk about backup fuel supply. So as you guys know, the Cherokees are shaped like a brick, so gas mileage isn't all that great, especially when you throw a rooftop tent up on there and make it even worse. The other problem we got is space as far as carrying fuel. Where do you put it? What are you going to do with it? How much can you get? So I went with the Rotopacks 3-gallon gas jug. There are other companies out there that make cheaper knockoff ones. I went through all the reviews on it. Everybody says the Rotopacks is a good brand. They hold up really well, and they're made extra thick, so that should be nice. Hopefully this thing doesn't swell out with the heat. I don't know how the venting system works on this thing because it's just one of these crappy, so we'll see how that works. But as you guys know, this is the Smittybilt rear tire carrier swing out bumper. And I have an idea where I can put this thing so it will be nicely tucked away and won't be kind of this big monstrosity hanging off the back of the Jeep. I did go with the 3-gallon just so I could have some kind of extra fuel on board, and the 5-gallon was just going to be way too big for where I kind of plan on mounting it and how I plan on mounting it. But if you can mount a 5-gallon on a Cherokee, I'd love to see how you did it and made it look, you know, not tacky but tasteful, I guess. I've also seen the ones where you can get like a 1-gallon that goes in the side back windows. I thought about doing those, but you know, carrying a gallon or 2 gallons of fuel, you know, one on each side, it's just going to be too much work. Nice 3-gallon one should do the job. But let's go ahead and show you where I plan on mounting this thing and how I plan on doing it. So those of you that have been following along in the videos, you'll know that I mounted this front runner fold down table onto the back of this tire swing out. And that did involve doing some modifications to the brackets, which then cuts off access to this back here coming this way if you were to put the regular 5-gallon jerry can in there. So I've measured this thing out, and I think what I'm going to do, I want it to be nicely tucked in here. Now this is a lot wider than the actual can. The can itself is like 4.5 inches, and from here to this is about 6. So it will kind of rattle around a little bit. I'm not really too worried. I thought about putting some kind of a foam in here to just kind of soften it from banging around, but I'm afraid if it gets wet, that's going to soak in, and then sitting on the metal, it's eventually going to rust it out. Not a good idea. So what I'm thinking about doing is I'm going to cut right down here, hinge this piece back to the back here, and then weld it onto there, and then come up with some kind of a locking system that'll go across. It'll also secure the jug inside, but you know, with the lock on it, nobody's gonna be able to run up and run off with my 3 gallons of gas, which at these prices is probably about $500. So if you're thinking that's a great place to put it, but what about when you're cooking? You're gonna have an open flame, you got 3 gallons of gas right there. I did think of that. I don't think it'll be too big of an issue because with the table down and my cooktop up, it is protected, but you know, really easily, all I gotta do, pop the lock off, pull the gas can out, then I don't have to worry about this thing blowing up if I'm back here cooking burgers or steaks or something. So it is something I've thought about, but really, honestly, this is the most convenient, best place to put it. It keeps it inside protected, and it's not going to be dangling up top, spraying fuel over the top of the car if something goes wrong and it leaks or busts open. So I'm really hoping by having it inside of here, it'll be nicely protected, and really, it's the only place I got left to put it. I've got stuff everywhere on this thing, so we're just going to kind of go with it. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so we got that cut off, and after some gentle persuasions with my hammer here, we got this thing bent over just fine. And now, gas can fits. So now we got to come up with some kind of a locking system that'll come across here so nobody can run off with this thing. And I've got a can of Raptor coat that I can touch up any kind of, from like the grinding and all that, and make it look like it was factory. So let's keep going. Alright, so we are back. I forgot where I left you guys off at. We went ahead and made the piece that's going to work as like the latch to hold this thing in. As you can see, this is probably a different one because I done screwed up the first one. I went ahead and added some speed holes to it. If you look closely, you'll notice they are a little crooked. You know, my theory is if you're going to take your time to do it, make it a little crooked. That way people actually believe that you built it. Because if you make everything really symmetrical, they're just going to think you bought it. So just a little crooked, that's where it's at. So let me show you how this thing's going to go on here. Alright, so basically we're going to rivet it on there like that. That's going to come over, latch onto there. That's where we're going to have our lock. But first, what we got to do, see, it opens it up, closes. What we got to do is we got to sand all this stuff down because we are going to shoot it with some Raptor coat. That way it matches everything. It'll blend in really good. Hopefully it'll look like it came from the factory. So let's go ahead and sand this stuff down and get started on the Raptor coat while it's still daylight. Now, this is what we're going to use. It's the same stuff that I have in the big containers. It's just this is actually nice because it's the Raptor coat, and then on the bottom is actually where it injects the hardener into it. So these cans are not very cheap, but it's nice for touch-ups or small projects like this. What you got to do for metal prep, I'm going with a 60 grit. I want to give it a good bite onto this. I found that it really doesn't matter. You don't want to have it just sprayed right on here because it's never going to stick to it. So just hit it with something like a 60, an 80, 120, I believe, somewhere in there. Anything to really rough up the surface is going to be fine. The Raptor coat will cover all the scratches. Don't worry about it. But right now we're going to go ahead and get this thing sanded and start painting everything. Alright, so you can see here, pop riveted on. This is before we get the paint done. I've already sanded on that a little bit. This will close. All lines up. I'm just going to put a regular old lock through there. Alright, so we gave her the old 2-minute tape job. Everything's ready. I wiped everything down with acetone just to make sure any kind of dirt and greases or all that are all gone. So with anything, you always want to try a little test pattern somewhere. This stuff sprays like crazy, so just be ready. Alright, well, there's 2 coats on there. It's recommended to wait 20 minutes between each coat. So we got 2 nice coats on it. I always find that spraying from a farther back distance with the rattle cans gives you a much finer texture. If you get too close, it gets kind of gloppy. So if you're doing this yourself and you like that smooth finish, just hold the can. I mean, really kind of got to hold it pretty far away. This stuff shoots out pretty good, but get good coverage out of it. I did do some touch-up work just on like the rock sliders and all that, but it is what it is. So we'll let this cure for a little while and then we'll come out here, we'll pull the tape off, and should be good. Alright, so it's been a couple days. They always recommend letting the Raptor coat pretty much fully cure before you go out thrashing on it. This one's been sitting for about 3 days now. I mean, it's just this tiny little piece and I haven't done anything, so I'm not really too worried about tearing it up too much. But other than that, it's cured to a good point where I can actually start moving it around, not have to worry about anything coming off. So as you can see, looks pretty good. Almost looks factory, but not quite. I did put a nice little master lock on it, but to get it off, pop that open. And out it comes, nice and easy. Same thing putting it away, Close that up, put your lock back on, you're good to go. I know there's hundreds of different ways you can modify things and do whatever you want. This is just the way that I did it. If you're interested in doing something like that, this wasn't a terrible project to do. That is the Rotopax 3-gallon gas can. I am kind of wondering how this thing works. There's no vent tube on it, so I'm guessing that it's in the cap. I don't know. So I'm happy with it. It's just what I needed. Nice small gas can. I know you can get 5-gallon ones, put them in there somehow. I can't, just because of the way I have everything set up with my drop down table. So this really blocks everything. I think the other gas can, you can take it in and out through here maybe. I'm not sure. I did try a jerry can one time, but it didn't quite fit. So I'm assuming you have to get like a special one. I don't know. But this is just the easiest way I decided to do it. And then when I am cooking, I will take this thing out so it doesn't blow up on me. So, but I mean, for a Cherokee, you already know, space on these things is very limited. So you just kind of got to do what you got to do to make things work. And for me, this was the best way to do it. So that's going to do it. We're one step closer to getting this thing ready for Colorado. Still got more parts showing up, so we're going to get all that stuff taken care of. Go through, get this thing nut and bolt checked, clean it all up, make sure I got everything I need. Cross my fingers that this thing makes it through the trip. Anyway, as always, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. We'll see you in the next video.